Hey everybody, Marcus C. Williams here, and I'm running for City Council this year, and today we're going to talk about public safety from a different aspect, from firearms ownership. So real quick, hit the like, hit the share button, and get this out to more people so that they can see it, and do drop some comments because that helps the algorithm, but I could really use your guys' help to collect some signatures so that I can get on an independent line this year. It's going to be called the Community First line because I believe that the community should be the priority of our elected officials. So we're going to jump into it, but the website is Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus4Rochester.com. You can volunteer right there and you can donate there too. And even if you're not local, you can donate right on there. So you guys, in Rochester, we have a serious crime problem. Like, the crime is completely out of control. Our mayor says that, oh, well, crime is down, but it's not. He uses these statistics of gunshot deaths to actually attribute that, and shootings and whatnot. But we know that stabbings are up thousands of percentage points. So this is kind of crazy that that is the only aspect and metric. We don't talk about the assaults, we don't talk about muggings, we don't talk about armed robbery, we don't talk about bank robbery. So we clearly don't talk about the carjackings or the car thefts. If those were included in those numbers, the crime would have skyrocketed out of control. There are even videos of a individual who is a considerably, let's say, anti-police is the nicest way I could put it, individual who's locally here in politics the other day that said, yes, the crime in Rochester has grown over 300% compared to the amount of crime growth in other areas of the same size across the nation in the same time. And I said, you know, you're the same person that pushed to defund and deprioritize the police. So to hear you saying something like that, that's real crazy. And they just said this the other day. I'm not going to talk about the individual, but it has been said, and some of you, I'm sure, know who said it. So this is something serious that's facing us every day, that's continually, chronically neglected. You pick up the phone, you call 911. Sometimes nobody picks up for a long time. I've called 911 before, maybe 5-10 minutes goes by. I've actually waited on hold for them up to 15 minutes before somebody came on the line before. It's absolutely crazy. So this is a regular occurrence. If you're not familiar, in Rochester right now, Monroe County's 911 hub, they're drastically understaffed. People are working 6 days, 12, 13, 14 hours a day, and it's really bad. You can imagine how stressed out you'd have to be if you're working that type of a job at an emergency center and people are just constantly calling with emergencies all day long, and you got to work 12 plus hours a day, 6 days mandatory. Like, that's crazy. So if you can, definitely apply for the 911 Emergency Services Center because they need help bad. But the point there is, you might not get anybody on the phone for a while. And then if you do, then they have to dispatch somebody to you. So imagine this, if you will. You're at home, it's you, you've got 2 kids, and you hear somebody at the door. Banging, banging, banging. It's dark, it's night, and they're trying to get in. And you're like, oh my goodness, what's going on? This is not cool. Let me call the police. And you're trying to get through, But before you can get somebody on the line and to get the police dispatched, they're already in the house. Now, at this point, all you can do is try to either get out of the house and protect the children or fight. Now, we know that we've seen a number of different sad instances where people have tried to get away from criminals that have broken in, or criminals inside their businesses where they are unarmed and the criminal is armed, normally with not just a gun that's illegal in New York State, but also a gun that you couldn't even get in New York State if you tried legally. And this is a serious issue. So what are you, to use a stick? Use a knife? What is the old adage? You brought a knife to a gunfight? You know, this is the very serious nature of the area that we live in. And illegal firearms are more prevalent, especially in high-impact communities and underserved communities, than legal firearms are, than law-abiding citizens who own firearms are. And we deserve to be able to protect ourselves. Because the fact is, if you were a parent and you did have 2 children and somebody was trying to break into your house, the police probably wouldn't get there on time. And that's if 911 answered immediately and if the police got dispatched immediately. Could you imagine if somebody was trying to do an armed robbery on you in the middle of the street? You wouldn't even have time to call the police. So this is a serious aspect of public safety that we don't talk about, that should be talked about. Firearm ownership. I believe very firmly in the Second Amendment, and I believe that people should, in general, be peaceful. But I do know for a fact that if there is a criminal or a bad person or somebody who is truly villainous, that their intent is not good at all. And they will do things to you that are completely outside of the confines of legality. Because, as many people like to say, criminals don't care about laws. Well, with that being said, that shows you that criminals don't care about firearms laws. They're not out here running around with registered firearms that are registered to them in their name and to their address. So why are the laws in our city and our state so repressive and harmful to individuals who just want to protect themselves, their family, and their property? I don't think that that's okay. And I know there are a lot of people out there that say, oh, well, nobody should own a gun. I don't agree with that statement, but let's be real. We don't live in that type of a country, and we don't live in that type of a world. There are really bad and truly villainous people out there that have no good intent for you or for anybody else but themselves. And some of them have complete disregard for themselves as well. We've got a number of really, truly psychopaths running amok in our streets right now. You can see some of them just driving up on the curb and trying to run over small children with vehicles. What type of humans do stuff like that? More or less those who are beating up old ladies at bus stops to take the pocket change out of their purse. A couple of years ago, we had a sad instance where there was a young man, and he was like, what do you call them, mentally disabled or whatever the case is. Like, he was all right, and he could do stuff, right? But he wasn't, I don't know, not the most able-minded individual, right? I'm trying to phrase it nicely, right? So he went to the corner store, and they robbed him outside the corner store for I think his mom gave him something like less than $20. I can't remember what it was exactly. But they shot him and they killed him. So that just shows you that there are truly villainous people. Truly villainous, bad people. And they don't care about anybody but themselves. And this is why I believe that the laws that we have right now in our city need to be modified so that you as a citizen, as a business owner, or as somebody who has a family can defend yourself, your family, and your business. This is serious. We know that we're all we have as individuals, and that very often help will not arrive in time, so we must help ourselves. In order to help ourselves, we need to be empowered by the law to help ourselves. I believe that our city should have a stand your ground law where you can defend yourself on your property without fear of repercussions from authority. this is something that's not only constitutionally sound, it's sound based on our state constitution. But we've got a number of laws and legal things that try to make it as though you are not able to do that. And I believe that our city should defend anybody that the state tries to come after that is standing their ground and defending their family or their property or their business. I also firmly believe that we should institute legislation that repeals the horrible law that we already have on the books that says that you can't have a firing range within the city limits. Well, it's kind of ridiculous not to be prohibitive, right? Like, it's ridiculous that you as a citizen, where you live, knowing that the state has put in onerous, ridiculous laws that make it more difficult for you to own a firearm legally, while criminals and villains are running around and running crazy with all types of firearms, some of which you'd only see in a video game or in a military battle sequence with something like the Green Berets, you know, like this is like really serious types of weapons that they have out there. So why do we have laws that say that you need training to get a firearm? The criminals don't have training, but if you need training and you live in the city, there isn't even a shooting range in the city limits for you to go to. Now, we know that the highest impact neighborhoods and the most underserved communities have the most amount of violence and robberies. Can we have that conversation for a moment? Now, the majority of the people that live in these neighborhoods don't necessarily always have access to transportation, or even if they do, don't always have the time to go out somewhere else to go to a firing range. Why aren't we able to have one in the city? And that, I believe, is something that we need to make a priority as far as legislation, so people applying for their pistol permits actually are able to train within our city limits. It's honestly, there's a whole case that could be made that it's unconstitutional that we have that ordinance in the city, but I just want to change it. Simple as that. It's that simple. We should change that law. Easy. And we should also institute a stand your ground law in our city. In addition to that, we have another issue. Because of the state laws that have been forced down upon the people to repress our citizens, especially black and brown individuals, which is a whole separate conversation, which we're not going to talk about, but especially people in underserved communities and the black and brown community. Remember, you guys, all anti-Second Amendment laws are racist. If you go back and you look at the history of anti-gun ownership laws, they were put in place because they didn't want black people to own firearms. As a matter of fact, there was a court case last year where they were where California was trying to put in these new regulations on restricting firearm ownership, and the cases that they brought with them to support their claim were cases that they had put in place after slavery to prevent the black Americans from being able to own firearms. And the judge in California saw that these were the arguments that they were making, and they were like, are you serious? Like, this is your argument? So that just goes to show you that the background behind all anti-firearm ownership legislation is racism and disenfranchisement of the American citizen and our Second Amendment rights. I believe very firmly in firearm safety, okay? I believe very firmly that people should be able to train. And that is something that we need to make sure can be done here locally in our area where we live. It doesn't make any sense that you're not able to do that. With that being said, I would also propose legislation for it to be attached to the budget that anybody in the city limits that is able to get their pistol permit after they go through the completion of their pistol permit, will be reimbursed all costs and fees for said pistol permit. That's very important to me. The Second Amendment is your right that is protected by the Constitution. It is a God-given right. The Bill of Rights, as many people know, is the core of our Constitution. But the Bill of Rights there isn't to give you rights. It's there to protect your God-given rights, your natural rights as a natural-born citizen. So these are very important rights. So why are we paying for our rights? I'm not really going to go into state politics on that issue, but the fact of the matter is you shouldn't have to pay for something that is in our Bill of Rights. It's literally number 2. And it says right with it, shall not be infringed. And we know now more than ever with the delay times for police response, where many times you'll see, even in my community, I live in Genesee section, you'll see they'll have like 10 to 15 high priority calls holding. I remember one time last summer, and Lake section had like 37 high priorities holding. I don't even know how you get that high. Like, that's a crazy amount of crime. You know, that's very, very serious. So we as citizens, as business owners, as people who want to protect their own life, their own liberty, and their family, we should be able to defend ourselves. But more so than that, our local government should remove all bars to us being able to not just express our Second Amendment rights, but also the limitation and roadblocks that have been put in the way to us actually using our rights should be removed as much as possible by our local government. You might ask yourself, well, why haven't they done that before? Well, it's clear they won't even push to lock up criminals. Why would they do that? You understand? There's a complete disconnect between the majority of citizens and our local government. It's clear that you don't matter to city council, but you matter to me. And that's why I'm running for city council. So I encourage you, go to my website, volunteer, donate, do whatever you can. It's Marcus4Rochester.com. That's Marcus4Rochester.com. And we can really make a real difference in our community, because I believe in you, and I believe that you should be prioritized. I know there are many people out there that are like, well, I don't think anybody should own a firearm. Well, good. You don't own a firearm then. Don't own a firearm. That's fine. You don't. But stop trying to stop other people from owning a firearm. I don't do drugs. Am I supposed to tell people, oh, you should stop smoking marijuana? Like, what type of a reasoning is that? If that's what we're doing, right? This is a very serious issue that people try to make a moral issue when it's not a moral issue. It's a right to self-determination, to self-defense, and to be able to adequately defend yourself from the evil that exists in our actual area, and not just the area, in the world. This is what we're dealing with, and we deserve better. So I encourage you, go to my website, please volunteer. Right now we're working on collecting signatures to get an independent line on the ballot called the Community First Line. Please volunteer, help us collect signatures, make phone calls, whatever you can do, and you can donate right there online. I appreciate you guys. Remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. Be blessed and be well. Catch you later.